Good morning, my friends. My name is Lama Jigme. I'm a non-sectarian Buddhist monk, teacher, healer, and tantrika. I've practiced and studied the Hindu, Taoist, and Buddhist schools of Tantra. And I'm here to tell you, remind you of a quote I'm sure you've heard many, many times before. Don't believe anything you read and only half of what you see. Now, many people will tell you we live in a jaded world where people will try very hard to take advantage of you. I'm going to give you a distinctly Buddhist perspective of that old saying. Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, which could be described concisely and fundamentalistically as suffering, karma, liberation, and the path. Personally, I find it more empowering to think of it in two sets of two. You have sufferings and the causes of suffering, and you have liberation from the tyranny of suffering, not the presence of suffering. Liberation from the tyranny of suffering and the causes of liberation from the tyranny of suffering. So, what's the first set? Sufferings and the causes of suffering. What's the second noble truth? Well, that would be the causes of suffering. So let's explore that now from a more liberal perspective. Causality is all about interdependence. This affects that, and that affects this. Now we'll explore this a little deeper. What if we lived in an interdependent universe where everything was affected by everything else? And everything affected everything else. Sometimes directly, other times indirectly. Sometimes overtly, other times subtly. Sometimes actually, other times just potentially. You'll notice I'm not saying this is the way it is. I'm saying imagine how it could be this way. I found the gentler approach of liberalism to be much more beneficial in the long term than the rigid path of fundamentalism. So, if our universe and all its phenomena and all its experiences were interdependent, then our very perceptions would also be interdependent. Here's a fun little mind bender that just might bake your noodle. What if even karma was subject to interdependence? Karma could be forged by our actions, but also modified by our actions. Karma could have many causes, and it can be modified continually by many causes. Now, from a fundamentalist point of view, that's a nightmare. It makes it very difficult to manipulate people with fear. But from a liberal perspective, it makes much more sense to explore how our very perceptions could be subject to interdependence, or very perceptions could be subject to karma. I'm going to paraphrase a tale from the Buddhist Mahayana tradition. There were two brothers who were instrumental in the Yogacara and Chittamitra school of philosophical thought in North India. One was Vasubandhu and one was Arya Sangha. I forgot who the story concerns. I think it was Asanga. Sangha spent many years meditating on the the individual that many Mahayanists believe is the next archetypical Buddha, Maitreya. And after many years of sadhana, Maitreya appeared to Asanga. Asanga was overjoyed and said, I must share, I must show you to all the people, all the townsfolk. Maitreya said, no, that's not such a good idea. But Asanga insisted. And finally he said, listen, I'll carry you on my shoulders and run through town and show everyone to you. Maitreya relented. And so, the Buddha of Light, Maitreya, jumped or climbed upon Asanga's shoulders. Asanga ran through town shouting joyously, look, it's Maitreya, the next Buddha. He's here among us. Come, let us learn from his teachings. No one saw anything on his shoulders. They just saw a crazed, filthy yogi running around, screaming incoherently, yet apparently happily. The only exception was one little old lady who had enough good karma to see what looked like the cadaver of a dead dog upon Asanga's shoulders. That story is used to teach us, whether it happened or not, that karma affects perception. In other words, just because something looks like a duck doesn't mean it is a duck. It just means we're experiencing the perception of a duck. There's an old saying, I'm sure you heard it before, it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck. It's probably a duck. From a Buddhist perspective, I'd say no. You're just experiencing the perceptual phenomena of encountering a duck. That's how hallucinations work. And some people and some philosophical schools would say that everything we experience is arguably a hallucination. It's more contingent upon our karma and our beliefs and our presuppositions than it is actual reality. About 5 years ago, about once a month, I'd visit my local metaphysical bookstore and I would participate in their psychic fair. I'd be paid to give people readings and the like. And so I got to hang out with many psychics. And my experience is that most psychics are very arrogant. They haven't worked on compassion, they haven't worked on wisdom, they've only worked on power. They've had some really cool results. But without compassion and wisdom, power just makes us arrogant and foolish and dangerously stupid. And so I've encountered a lot of arrogant psychics who would say, I perceive it, therefore it must be true. But a fundamental understanding of causality, of interdependence, tells us just because you experience something doesn't make it true. Otherwise, the NFL would not institute instant replay, which by the way, they have. They use instant replay from multiple angles. Don't get me wrong, I know nothing about sports, I'm a movie guy. However, whenever I've been dragged to watch a Super Bowl, and there's a play comes into question, they show instant replay from multiple angles because they know perception is flawed for many reasons. I've been told that in this decade, eyewitness testimony in a court of law does not carry as much weight as digital testimony. Because we've learned that perception is subject to a myriad of factors. I teach many people how to meditate. Some of the most difficult people to teach are those who have spent years developing their psychic powers, but not necessarily their wisdom or their compassion. They're the ones who are the most attached. They're the ones who hold on with white-knuckle intensity to their perceptions and their consequential conclusions. But our ability to grow and know peace and joy and greater love and wisdom is directly proportional to our ability to, number one, be aware of our preconceptions, number two, let go of them. Certitude, my friends, is a trap. A Buddha can be in our midst and be perceived as an ordinary flawed human being, or perhaps the cadaver of a dead dog, or maybe not seen at all. If we are to be happy and peaceful and loving and wise, we must cultivate the skill of letting go, even of our most cherished assumptions. The Saturday series of classes begins on the 26th of October. If you're interested in participating either in person, if you live in the Los Angeles area, or via Skype, if you don't live in the Los Angeles area, then contact me using the links below. And you can also use those links from my Facebook page to send me a cyber hug or a question or a comment. You and yours be healthy and happy. Bye-bye.